Today on The Clean Close, I'm joined by Victor Lund. He is the co-founder of WAV, or WAV Group, we're going to find out, and one of the most experienced strategic thinkers in real estate. Over the past few weeks, we've seen bold predictions about consolidation, private listings, broker power, and new regulations, some calling them existential threats, others calling them nothing burgers. In this episode, we are going to break the conversation into three parts. First, the big consolidation predictions. Second, Compass's new listing strategies and what they mean for transparency and fair housing. And finally, whether new laws like the Wisconsin Act 69 actually change outcomes or just codify behavior. Welcome back to The Clean Close. Welcome, Victor. Welcome to The Clean Close.
What's happening, Courtney? Great to be
What's up? Yes, there's a burning question I have to ask because I always cite you when I'm doing news reviews. And is it WAV Group or WAV Group?
It is, yes. We're from the 90s, and WAV was like a WAV file. And
yeah, like an audio
we
file.
do a lot of technology consulting, so it also worked out with our name. My wife's, her last name is Wilson. My first name is Victor. My last name is Lund, so we couldn't do that. So we first started the company called Wilson Victor Associates, and that's lame. Let's call it WAV Group.
So switch the letters around. I see what you did there.
Come up with, yeah.
Well, I'm really glad you're joining me. You recently did an article in Inman that I want to discuss about consolidation and power and predictions. And one of the people
I didn't
you
do
were
the
on,
article. They did the article. They asked me some questions.
They asked you some questions, and you're right in there with another person who I love to quote, James Dwiggins. So I have a couple questions for you. Okay, so you've described the Compass Anywhere deal as a nothing burger in a way.
Nothing burger, yeah.
Big nothing burger. Can we talk more about that? Because not everybody sees it that way. I want to know, what is the nothing burger about it? Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, real estate always gets paranoid when there's massive change. And certainly this is massive change. And I think it means a lot for Wall Street, but not a lot for Main Street. So, I've had the opportunity to work with Compass and work with Anywhere and work with a lot of their franchisees and their big teams, their big agents, over my decades in the business. I've realized what really happens in real estate. And I don't know of a single real estate agent or a broker that can command the behavior of a real estate. I don't know anybody who can command the behavior of a real estate agent. So, I look at this as a way for these companies to find synergies in the way that they provide foundation that will allow agents and teams to be successful in real estate and serve the client better. I don't see this as disruptive. I don't think that this is any lion coming over the hill. Obviously, Mr. Refkin and his management team are going to do their very best to work very closely with the great folks at Anywhere. They're going to move these companies together, find ways that they can make the brokerage and the franchise business more money, and of course, provide some value to the agents and the consumers they sell. So, they're going to do everything they can to not only keep this thing together, but to grow it. So they're not going to do anything obnoxious that's going to draw the ire of either the consumer or the agent.
Well, one of James Dwiggins' predictions.
You want to fight me on that?
I will actually fight you on that.
Let's do it. I'm in.
But one quick second before we do that, one of James's other predictions was that 3 to 4 major companies will emerge controlling 60 to 70% of all U.S. real estate transactions. So, do you see that as what's next?
Well, I think we were there before this merger, and I think we're there now. So, if you use the 5 or 6, if you add in Anywhere, Compass, EXP, Keller Williams, Remax, and a few others, you're there. So,
So you don't think anything's changing? Like, who cares? Okay,
I don't know.
Got it.
Did it change for you? I mean, you're out there selling real estate every day. Did the earth shake last week or not?
The earth hasn't started shaking yet, but I see spaces where it certainly could. And one of those is one that I want to talk to you about right now. So, Compass announced, as I'm sure you saw, this address upon request. Did you see this announcement? So they're like, it's going to be like an Airbnb, thing where we have, it's basically the least transparency possible for a listing. No address, no neighborhood, and then there's a direct contact to the listing agent if you want more information. And supposedly, what the reason why they're doing that is to make sure that the listing agents are getting the leads. Right? You've seen this, right?
That's one of the reasons why, maybe, but I think there are a
Well,
lot of other reasons why.
that's what they say. What do you think the
Yeah,
other
I mean,
reasons
how
are?
long have you been selling real estate?
20 years.
Okay, so you've
21,
had the
I guess I can say.
opportunity. You have had the opportunity since 1999 to suppress the display of an address on the internet.
Yeah, but I will no, kind of. Okay, but here's the thing:
Your
privacy
California Regional
listings.
MLS, you just click the box.
I'm not CRMLS. We're Claw MLS. I
Oh,
respect
well, you can do it
CRMLS.
yeah, you can do
There
it
is
there
a
too.
privacy listings setting. However, whenever you are an agent logging into the MLS and you look for the statuses like active, active under contract, pending, sold, privacy isn't one of the options. You actually have to go through to a different page in order to even search for a
Is that
privacy
for a
listing.
private listing or just suppressing the
Privacy listing,
address?
meaning the address undisclosed. And we have
Okay.
not seen it take over. It's not something that a lot of people are using.
Yeah, rarely
and
done.
and
Rarely
and it
done.
was rarely done because it was a kind of an alternative to an exclusive or an off-market listing. So that was the way that we were doing it. Now MLS has added, coming soon. So that was a thing that people would do to try and advertise without advertising, but there were restrictions on where you could advertise. And if you advertise a coming soon to the general public, then it starts the day count, supposedly. I mean, there are just so many new rules. Now we have an MLS exclusive as a category.
Yeah.
So that's new. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, in my opinion, and I don't know if you know me, but I have been an advocate for transparency and listing agents capturing leads from the origins of Zillow. And I joined our board. I tried to work through this like inside the system, got shut down at every single corner, every single time I wanted to have this fight, they wanted to shut me up. I actually ended up getting a cease and desist, believe it or not, because I was talking about this.
From who?
On the Inman stage, from my association when I was on the board.
Oh, from
And
Beverly Hills.
so, GLAR, yeah. And I got off the board because I realized that whole thing they tell you about working from within the system actually doesn't work for people like me. So, I feel like agents have been not organized, but feeling the impact of Zillow or other aggregators stealing their leads for a very long time. That's not new news. And so I feel like this is just another hedge against Zillow, maybe. If there's someone like Compass that has such a large amount of listings, any move they make, whether it's advertising things without addresses, which I'm not sure if there's a fair housing component to that or not. I'm curious to know your take on that. Or making things private in the supposed name of seller choice, but we actually all know it's, incentivizing dual agency. It does have an impact. And where we saw it the most was during COVID. COVID was an interesting moment in real estate and private listings. Compass really started marketing their private listings, again, within the boundaries of CCP, but they were marketing those listings and consumers felt the propaganda, like they were missing out if they weren't looking at off-market listings. They really embodied that. We lost clients because of that. So I do think that it creates a monopolistic kind of environment where people like me, who are boutique broker owners, now have to figure out how can we compete in an era that's supposedly about transparency, but increasingly is moving the other direction, now to the point where we're even hiding addresses. Thoughts?
I have a ton of thoughts about what you just covered.
Hit me.
So one thing is that Annie Ives runs an incredible MLS, Claw, or the MLS as they're called. They're in a very unique position because they build their own system. So they're not using a vendor or whatever. They're not using a cookie cutter application to be able to develop the MLS tool that you depend upon every day. As it relates to the way that they park or sort listings, which have selected the box, do not display address on internet. I'm sure that if that's difficult for you guys, they can go in and switch up their system and make that easy for you soon. So there's some relief for
Victor,
that.
no, my love, you are
Really?
so wrong. Oh my
Oh,
God. Annie is an accountant. Annie,
all
I
right. Well,
have,
can we just agree to disagree? I don't want to talk. I don't
no,
really
no,
want to
no, it's
argue about
okay.
my friend.
Well, I love that you have her as a friend because maybe you
Yeah.
can get something done. But as an ordinary agent, making changes at that level is nearly impossible. I have tried.
Yeah,
I
like I
have
said,
been there.
the change would happen if the demand was there. So I would probably suggest if you go into Claw right now and you take a look and find out how many listings have the address suppressed, and then maybe it's too bad because it's hard to do a search to go back and say, well, how many had addresses suppressed X number of months ago or Y number or Z. But I'm telling you, if it's a growing trend, they do have the programming skills to solve the problem. And if it's a
But
problem for you, it's probably a problem. Then it becomes a
it's not
problem
a
for
trend.
everybody, I think. Okay.
No, no, no. I don't think it's a trend for the ordinary agent. That's the thing, is that one agent putting a privacy listing in is not the same as an entire gigantic brokerage that has a substantial
Yeah,
amount
but
of
that hasn't
listings
happened yet.
nationwide.
You're not seeing it.
No, no,
Hasn't
no.
happened
They
yet.
announced it. I know. I'm saying,
I
what are
know
the,
they
what is
announced
the
a lot of
impact?
things. Like even their I may know a little bit too much about Compass, but a lot of the listings that start out in their three-phased program are listings that go through the Compass Concierge program. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not that they're excluding those listings from the market, it's that they're going in and making home improvements on that property. So it's a buyer-ready home. And they do more of that than any other brokerage in America. And that's a great benefit to sellers. You can you have to have a listing agreement before Compass is going to front the money to do the home improvements. If they're going to put in a
But
driveway, a new roof,
are
stage
you
your
saying that
house,
those
paint it.
automatically go privacy listing?
Yeah, because you have to have the deal that they have with the seller is we'll provide you the money to make these improvements that we agree
Right.
upon,
Yeah. A lot of
and
brokerages are
we'll
doing
get paid at closing. But
that. Right.
obviously, in the middle of construction, we don't want to be showing the house. You don't do that. You wouldn't show a house in the middle of construction. But
No,
you might want to. But if you
what I'm
have
trying to connect the dots is, are you
like your
saying that
agents in your office, hold on, let me finish.
yes,
If you have agents in your office, how many agents do you have?
35.
35. So if you have a home that you have listed and you out of your pocket were paying to get the items fixed that would cause this property not to sell through inspection, or you'd have massive seller concessions on, wouldn't you tell the other agents in your office that you're doing it? You got this beautiful home on Mulholland and you're putting 20 million into it and you're going to sell it for 125. You wouldn't tell the other agents in your office about it?
Well, I'll be honest, you're bringing up an excellent point. So my experience of 21 years is that the more exposure a listing has, the odds are better that you'll get a higher price for the seller. And I understand that whenever sellers enter into these agreements with Compass, they actually sign something saying they're not guaranteed a higher price, they're not guaranteed more showings, not guaranteed even better terms, okay? So the seller's going and signing something that's kind of against their interest in a way, I would think, and they're obviously being sold something else along the way. Would I love the opportunity? Would I love the opportunity to promote my coming soon listing to a wider audience for the benefit of my seller? 100%. And I think that the problem is there are gigantic companies and there are small companies. And in my experience being a broker owner, usually policies kind of apply across the board. We're one of the unique industries, I think, where you can have a single agent who's a broker versus a gigantic company that's a brokerage, right? And this clear cooperation policy is one place where I really feel they dropped the ball on making sure that the way that the rule is applied across the board. I would argue to a seller that marketing to a small number of agents, even if that small number is 5,000 instead of to 50,000 or 100,000 agents, in and of itself doesn't make sense. I think the more exposure, the better across the board. And
Yeah,
my feeling is the imbalance in that. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a really cool product called Percy AI, and Percy AI is the company used to be called Buy Side, and the product
Okay.
used to be called Buyer MLS. So
Buyer
let's just
MLS.
flip the whole MLS model on its ear for a second and say, rather than thinking about the MLS as a place where you put listings,
Mm-hmm.
think about it as a place where you put home buyers. Like, how many
Mm-hmm.
home buyers are you working with today that are looking for property in a market? And what's really cool about Percy AI is that if I'm a listing agent and my brokerage has Percy AI, and my brokerage has recorded all the buyer criteria, location, beds, baths,
Sure.
price, whatever, I can now go into a listing presentation and say, hey, Courtney, I want to talk to you about my company and our services. And of course, we're going to market your listing across the internet just like everybody else. But here at my company, we already have 35 buyers who are looking for a home in your price range with your beds and baths in this town. Sign here, press hard, and you can meet them. We'll start doing showings next week. I mean, it's called reverse prospecting. It's in
Mm-hmm.
the system. All of the saved searches that are in Claw with other agents, like you can do reverse prospecting against those saved
Mm-hmm.
searches, and
Yeah.
you don't find out who the buyers are, but you find out that, that buyer is working with Victor Lund from such and such a brokerage, and you as an agent can reach out and talk to them. So
You know what?
that's
That's
reverse
interesting.
prospecting, and it's a
We
good
have
product, and that's what Compass is doing. They're doing
Well,
reverse
we do
prospecting
that.
at
We
scale.
have that through ReChat. You have that through MLS.
Yes,
You also have that
exactly.
through Real Scout. They all have reverse
Yes,
prospecting.
you're right.
So, yeah, but I do kind of like the idea, actually, and I haven't seen it on an unrepresented buyer scale where a buyer who maybe doesn't have an agent yet goes in and puts their search criteria in
Yeah.
there and lets listing agents pitch their listings to that buyer without it having to go through an agent. Because I think one of the reasons why Zillow has succeeded is that it tempts buyers to search who are not necessarily associated with an agent yet. That's why they're
Yeah, when
duped
they
on their
have
website.
200 and they have 204 million searches or something like that a
Right,
month, but we only
right.
sell 4 million trades a year. So,
And a lot of
yeah, but
buyers are just at the beginning. They don't have an agent yet, you know?
yeah. And
So,
LA is a great place. Like, where you operate, where you do business, like there are people all over the planet that are looking at properties in that remarkable, beautiful area where you live. I have a home up in San Luis Obispo, which so
oh,
we're down in Los
beautiful.
Angeles a lot, but my word, what a great place to be.
Oh, well, thanks. It has its pluses and minuses, in my humble opinion, but here we are. One of the things, another thing that could be influenced by the Compass Anywhere merger, I think, in contradiction to your nothing burgerness of things, is that NAR could be more inclined to bend toward Compass's influence. Do you think NAR, in your experience, is actually influenced by the big box brokerages more than by the little guy? Do you think that Compass could have a
I
greater influence on
it's
NAR
that
policy?
is a really, really hard question to answer. And in fact, I wrote about this today, but
Mm,
I, as an MLS or a realtor association, you you have to be a neutral party that provides infrastructure to
hmm
horizontal customers, right? So all the brokers who are participating in the MLS are considered horizontal, and the MLS itself is a cooperative. So you need to think of it as like a like, listen, Gmail does not care what customer or what size you are if you want to use Gmail services. And if you think directionally at where the National Association and the MLS need to position themselves, it's right there. Like, you put the listing in under the terms that you're permitted by law to do, and that's the way it works. I don't care what your business model is. I don't care what your
I think
agreement with the seller is. I don't care about any of that, because that's not my job. I run a cooperative, just like the Sunkissed Orange Growers Cooperative, right? The
mm,
farmer brings the oranges, you process the
well,
orange, they walk out with orange juice. Like,
I
that's
think
what the
that's how
MLS
it's
needs to be.
supposed to work. That's how it's
Yeah.
supposed to work. I think there are still data inaccuracies. For example, with our MLS, days on market count is totally skewed, because if a listing agent changes a listing depending, it stops the days count. But if they accept an offer on the property, it still runs as contingent. Days still run, even if you're looking for backup, which incentivizes agents to change the status prematurely, I guess.
Yeah.
And
well, it's beautiful that you brought up that example. So days on market was something that was not permitted for display on IDX websites. Like, you couldn't display them to the public. It was considered a confidential inside baseball field. And there's reasons for that. I mean, I think everybody in the real estate industry knows that if you look at something that has an extraordinary amount of days on market, it kind of indicates that there's a flaw. It's like, if, there's a handsome man who isn't married in his 50s, you're like, well, what's wrong with that guy? He looks great, but what's the problem?
Right.
So, I don't know. It's that's the way people operate, right? So yeah, I don't like that days on market is displayed through IDX. I think that was a foolish maneuver by the industry. I don't know how much of your audience is consumer versus industry, but we have a solution called a virtual office website project policy, and that allows the real estate agent or broker to be able to display days on market to their client when they're actively working with them under contract. So you have a buyer's agreement, you can display that information. But these portals and this is where the portal comes into play. I mean, these are tough players, and they're doing anything they can to find a little thing or a little widget to attract the consumer to get information that they can't get from their real estate agent. And that was one of them. So, cleverly,
right, but it's also part of the reason.
Let's make sure what happened. Like, cleverly, Redfin said, we're not going to publish days on market. We're going to publish days on Redfin.
Okay. Well,
they did it. And so now the reason why, okay, well, we can't stop them from doing that. So I guess we just let everybody do it. That's
part of this marketing pitch by Compass, though, is that you can pre-market in their privacy listing platform and avoid days on market. It's become another marketing propaganda tool. And to your point about NAR and MLS, supposed to be kind of like, horizontal, everyone's equal. Of course, that's the expectation. That's the desire. That's what we want. But clear cooperation policy has been very much a source of contention because it's not applied equally. And whenever I spoke with the new vice president for industry relations a few months ago and brought this up when they introduced the delayed listing status.
You're talking about Sherry Chris?
No, not Sherry.
Industry relations.
His name was Jared, NAR.
Oh,
I think his name was Jared.
Jared, yeah, exactly.
I'll put his information in the show notes. What they said is that because the listing broker, so even though it's called an office exclusive, it is not for office by office. It is actually broker by broker. And how the states get around this is by applying one broker to the entire state, and then sales managers in all of the offices. So one brokerage could have thousands and thousands and thousands of people in one state. My solution to this is we need one state MLS. I mean, that is what it is. Compass has one broker for the state of California. So any agent in California can access the privacy listing thing, whereas I'm one broker for a 35 agent office. And for me to market in office exclusive is a very different beast than a big company, now an even bigger company, creating something that is essentially an alternate MLS. And in my opinion, that is very heavily unequitable, I guess, if that's the right word.
Yeah,
and I think it's a problem.
Courtney, I don't want to argue with you about Compass. Like, you have some misunderstandings.
Do I?
Yeah, I mean, they do have one, let's just call senior executive broker of record. Yeah. She has many dozens of brokers working underneath her. So she's managing a department of many brokerages.
Well, of course, but that's what I'm saying is that for the clear cooperation
to say that
policy,
Compass only has one broker
it's one broker of record for the state.
Yeah,
so that it falls under clear cooperation.
Well, but also so that that person can manage all of their brokerages who are out working with agents, deal doctoring, everything else.
Oh, Victor,
I
I don't
mean,
want you to be confused that I don't understand how the industry works
they
in
have, I mean,
California.
yeah,
I
you
do.
co-broke with them, so
No, no,
you're not
I
talking to,
do understand that there
yeah,
are
you're
sales
talking to,
managers in different
yeah,
offices, but what I'm saying is clear cooperation policy. The reason why it can function the way that it does, which I think is not equitable, is because of that policy, is because of the office exclusive part that allows for one broker of record for the state, whether there are more brokers under or not, doesn't matter. One broker for the state will allow agents associated with that one gigantic brokerage to essentially create an off-market MLS, which is exactly what they're doing, which is a very different experience than, say, a single agent broker or a small boutique brokerage or any other brokerage that's not as big.
yeah. I mean,
So,
you need to be aware that I think Compass is a member of 35 MLSs just in the state of California, and each of those MLSs has different MLS policies related to clear cooperation, and many of them actually have
mhm.
um, a coming soon component, and the coming soon component does allow the MLS to receive the listing data. And depending on their policies, it may or may not be shared with other agents who are representing buyers that are co-broking with them. So,
Oh, it's a
to think
coming
that the
soon
way
that
that
who
it's,
would they market with? Relationships matter in real estate. If you're watching this, you already know that. That's why I send my clients to Matthew Fine from Blueprint Home Loans. He is super likable. He's one of us. He is hip to what's going on in the real estate market. And honestly, he's creative. He cares about the American dream, and he helps our clients with creative solutions to getting their loan accomplished and getting them into those houses. I love that when you can count on somebody and you know when you're sending them to your client that they're not going to let them down. So if you're looking for a new lender partner and you're frustrated by the ones you've been referring your clients to, give Matthew Fine a call. He is on Instagram at MortgageMatt with 3 T's. I'll also put his contact information in the show notes. Now back to the show.
I am not inclined to suggest that there's one MLS for the whole state. And the reason being is that the MLS is a cooperative, and these cooperatives seem to work more effectively when they're localized. By that, I mean, and this again goes back to clear cooperation. The behaviors of people in your market are probably different than the behaviors of people in other markets. And let me give you a concrete example, because I don't really want to talk in platitudes. In San Francisco, Marin County, East Bay, when an agent gets a listing, the first thing they do is they have that listing inspected and appraised. You don't do that where you are.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
do that after you have an accepted buyer offer, correct? So those are business, when you do that
But
is a
how does
matter
that
of
affect
local
MLS
preference. And
entry,
this is really
given that
important.
it's a data
So
platform?
again, the listing agent in the Bay Area is more likely to take a listing, enter it into the MLS as a coming soon listing, get that work done of having it inspected and appraised, getting all of the disclosures done for that property before they turn it live. And the benefit there is you want to talk about transparency. I think that's a much more transparent system, because a home buyer working with an agent in that market is
Sure.
going to get all the disclosures for a
No,
property before they make
we
an
don't.
offer. You don't do that.
Well,
You don't disclose all
well,
that,
actually, I used
even
to
though you
sell real
probably
estate
know
in
it.
DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
You've
We
walked the
actually did
house. You're
that
like, I know that foundation is
there in
correct.
Southern California. You don't. But that doesn't, I don't think that affects
But
how
some markets
MLS
are local
entry
and-
happens, because the
Yeah,
coming
so
soon option would be an option here, just like it would be an option there. But what it would do, it would normalize a lot of data points and how those things are entered across. So if I'm looking at a San Francisco listing, I know that it's under the same like renovation as a keyword or whatever. I would know how to search for it. It would give us access, because we sell outside of just LA. We sell Palm Springs, Ventura County, San Diego, like all these different things. I have to join a million different MLSs. So it's very expensive to grow a brokerage if you're in multiple different parts of California, even though it's under one state license. And I think that if you are going to try and, like you said, be horizontal about pre-market listing, then it would benefit the consumer, because me as a listing agent could put my coming soon in the MLS, giving other agents access from other brokerages to see a listing that might not be on Redfin or Zillow yet. But it would give my seller more access than just my brokerage. So I think it's a great idea. Okay, I want to move on to one more thing. Did you see Wisconsin Act 69? Yes. Okay, so just for those of you out there.
I did. And there's a similar proposition. Yeah, there's a similar proposition that's there. I don't know the law name.
Okay,
but
interesting.
It's, being worked
so
up in
just
New
for
York,
those of
or
you
in
out there who
Washington
don't
State
know
as
what
well.
it is, one of the friends of our show, Summer Gorelick, she recently covered 2025 Wisconsin Act 69, which takes effect January 1st, 2027. The law states, quote, a listed property must be marketed broadly online within 1 business day of the listing agreement unless the seller affirmatively opts out by completing and signing a disclosure and opt-out form prescribed by the department. Summer's position is that this moves listings from quiet limitation into comprehension, meaning a seller won't just accidentally sign something where they're then all of a sudden being marketed as a private listing. To me, Victor, and I'm curious your thought, but to me, this is a nothing burger. To me, it's just clear cooperation as law. What do you think?
Exactly. It is clear cooperation as law. No, I agree 100%. It's clear cooperation as law. The way, you may not enjoy your competitor's process of marketing properties very much. And I respect that too. I actually agree with you a lot, but I also, give them liberty to operate their business with their sellers the way they want to do it. But yeah, it is an absolute nothing burger. It doesn't make a hill of beans a difference at all, as long as the seller, and whether it's exclusive listing or coming soon listing or signing a listing that's going to be active within 1 day, all of those agreements are constructed.
Right, totally. And when I had Summer on the show, her
seller.
concern was whether or not sellers are being kind of duped into this 3-phase marketing, or if they really understand what they're selling. Like, are the sellers coming to them saying, hey, I have this concern, that's why I don't want to go live? Or is the agent saying, hey, this is the way we think you should do it? And I don't think, unless we're inside fly on the wall in any listing presentation, we don't know like how that really goes down. To me, the problem with making these things be part of law is that A, it doesn't change anything, and B, now how hard is it going to be to affect any change if at least clear cooperation is an NAR thing. You would think that the membership could say, this isn't working. Well, we've been saying it. Everybody's been saying it. Is that what's going to happen?
I think they're going to try and appeal.
I'm not a fan. I think the government should get out of it, because it's our industry practices. And I think we need to have as much control of that as possible in this big fight for control. Yeah. Victor.
Yeah, there's a strong chance that clear cooperation is going to be brought up at the MLS Policy Committee from the floor, with a motion to appeal supported by a wide swath of MLSs and brokerages, far beyond the reach of Compass. This policy has not gone well. And, as we talked before about the role of the MLS being a neutral party and the role of the association being horizontal, there's no possible way that you can say that the clear cooperation policy was brought about and adopted in our industry if Compass wasn't around. I mean, these business practices have been around for years in a very small level. It didn't become a problem until a company grew to be one of the largest firms in America as a result of exercising these business practices. So if you want to talk about antitrust,
well, there's a reason for that. I mean, I don't like Zillow either. So I saw those internal documents and I thought, Jesus, they are really trying to get us.
Yeah, well, that law in Wisconsin? That law in Wisconsin was lobbied by Zillow.
That is incredible. Victor, I'm sorry, we're running out of time. Okay, thank you. No, I mean,
got that.
I
I got that
appreciate you
from
bring
Rob
that up. Rob
Hahn,
Hahn
so
stole
I
the
could be
name of
wrong.
our other podcast. So anyway, Rob is on my ish list. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh.
This has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate it, and I
I'll come
appreciate
back
spirited
anytime, Courtney.
debate. So you are welcome back any old time, Victor. Now I know it's WAV Group. I can stop asking that question.
Yes.
We hope you'll come back soon on the Clean Close. All right. I guess the question I'm leaving this week with is bigger always better? I mean, obviously, there's always a question of whether or not size matters when it comes to real estate and other things. But when it comes to quality, I do look at things like bread, bread. Is a bigger manufacturer of bread creating a higher quality product, even though there's more of it? Do you ever go to the grocery store and read the ingredients on the bread and wonder what the hell is this? I saw a TikTok video, which I'll put in here, of a guy actually running water over a piece of bread, squeezing the bread, and it was like sponge. It's like not real food,
Ooh, look at that. I don't think that's like good and healthy to eat, bro. Ew, look at it. It's like you squeeze it.
And then I think about, like, is bigger better when it comes to quality? Like when we were younger and we used to shop at little boutique stores, was the quality of it better? Or now we have Amazon, which is obviously bigger and faster, but the rings I get break. I bought my daughter a little like bibbity bobbity boo, magic wand, and it like broke the first day we got it. The quality is cheap. And the process of the action it would take, the effort it would take to actually like go through the process of trying to get a refund for something that was like $6. I'm not going to do it. Like they know, it's too hard to fight for getting any accountability when it comes to cheap, but I do think this is part of the concern and consideration whenever you have big conglomerates. Is your meat higher quality because it's produced at a bigger factory? Like, are you getting higher quality meat? I've seen people online also pulling apart pieces of chicken going like, what is this? Like, it doesn't even look like chicken anymore. And this is my concern about the merger. This is my concern about the consolidation of power in our industry, is that the quality, just by the nature of things getting gigantic, usually does go down. And the ability of a consumer to fight against the propaganda, to remember that the things that are actually the meat and the product is the actual quality thing. It is the thing that we want to be quality. When you're looking at a real estate investment or you're looking at your asset, you shouldn't, I don't think, fall for the idea that there's any difference in exposure between a boutique brokerage and a giant brokerage. They're all going on to Zillow or Redfin or the MLS and getting marketed to other people. I mean, the stats are there. That's how buyers find houses. There's no question about it. They're looking online. So as long as yours is aggregated, you will get the exposure. There's no difference. But what there is a difference in is all the little marketing, strategies and propaganda. Now the transparency thing, that's a privacy, the address won't be there. I think that it's the opposite of what it is that the industry is demanding. The fault is in our systems, which I've been active about from the beginning, in that our own MLS and NAR did not support agents in being featured on IDX listings such that we would capture our own leads from our listings. So I do get that point. But at the end of the day, if you follow the money, the real incentive here is not exposure, because we all know that's pretty horizontal, as Victor was saying. Like, we're going to get your listing in the MLS and it's going to go everywhere. The real thing is who makes more money off of hiding the information. And that, I think, should lead you to the natural conclusion that maybe bigger in this case is not always better. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Clean Close. Next week, we're going to have a really exciting one on scams. I'm going to talk about my scam. I'm going to have some other guests who have been scammed and some agents who have been scammed. So how about that? I'll see you next time. Toodles! If you like honesty and transparency in your real estate news and editorial, please hit subscribe, put a little bell, do a little bell thing, make it be a notification. I've got big dreams for our podcast, but also, I want to make sure that I'm here delivering something that is useful to you guys, encouraging and informative. And I would love for you to also be a voice. If you're interested in being a guest, or if you have a podcast and you'd like to be on mine, I can be on yours. Please send me an email, Courtney at acme-re.com. I'll put the contact information in the show notes.